Wednesday, February the 14th. I haven't done a fishing report in almost 4 weeks. I actually been in Florida doing some fishing down there and vacationing, but it's time to start getting back on routine and start doing my Wednesday fishing reports. But I've been back about a week, a little over a week, and I've got to do quite a little bit of fishing here on Table Rock. Even though it seems like it's a spring outside, for the most part, the fish are still in a winter pattern, and will be for the next several weeks. But the lake level is like 913 3/4, which when I left, it was just about a little over 908. So it's came up about 4 feet. The water temperature's kind of depends on where you're at. Last week, a buddy and I were up in the upper James River, and it's got real nice color up there, and I don't know if it's changed since that snow we had the other day. The water temperature may have dropped a little bit, but we didn't have any major runoff, so should be good and clean up there still. But we found a lot of 50 to 52 degree water temperature, and I believe it's the same way up in Longs Creek and Kings River. But we caught several fish up there on crankbaits. We didn't catch very many keepers, caught a lot of little males, and I was throwing a rock crawler and a couple different red hues or patterns, and he was throwing a flat-sided, frit-side, Berkeley, flat-sided bait, a little square bill, and we seemed like we caught about the same number of fish, but like I say, there were a lot of little fish, and we had a couple short ones on a jerk bait. But and then I've been down lake several days, and even though it's nice out, I've been wanting to catch them shallow, on a jerk bait up in the treetops. And I was out the other day really struggling, and a buddy of mine kept sending me pictures about every hour. He's sending me, or every 30 minutes, he's sending me another picture of another nice fish he caught out there deep on Demiki rigs. So I kind of, a lot of times we try to force feed the fish what we want them to bite. So I had to put my jerk baits away and pick up the Demiki rig and go out there deep, and started catching quite a few fish. And the fish are still out there pretty deep. There's some out there, a lot of the ones I caught were in treetops, on the main lake, and on channel swings. They were suspended in the tops of the trees. The bottom depth really didn't matter, but if you found a tree that topped out in the 30 to 50 foot range, it seemed to be the right depth. And also, I did a lot of idling around. I didn't find as much shad as I had found before I went on vacation, but there's still some shad in the creeks, and there's still a lot of shad out there in the main lake. I mean, really deep. I'm still seeing a lot of shad at 60, 70 feet deep, and I'm sure there's some fish out there with them, but I didn't fish for the one super deep like that. But on the Demiki rig, I've been throwing a few different baits. I've got hooked up with missile baits, and I've been trying some of their baits. This one here I've got on is called a spunk shad by Missile, and I've been using it on my Demikis. This one's got it's a little underspin, got a little 1/2 ounce head for when I'm fishing real deep. And the other one I was using was a big bite jerk minnow for a little bit shallower fish, either on a 1/4 ounce or a 3/8 ounce head, and just trying to pick out isolated fish and catch them. A lot of times when I was out yesterday, a lot of my fish came out of brush piles, the conservation brush, and it seemed like the first or second pass through there with the bait, I could catch one fish, and 4 or 5 others would come out, swarm the bait. I'd catch that one, unhook it, throw back in there, and that's all I could seem to catch was just the one. The other fish would go right back into the brush pile, but they seemed like they was, a little finicky after I caught the first one. And another thing I was throwing in the brush piles as well as an Alabama rig. And most of the fish I've caught the last few days, the most consistent deal has been a Demiki rig and an Alabama rig. And I think the bite is probably a little better the further up the White River you go. like from Campbell Point, Shell Knob, and further up. And for some reason, every spring the bite seems to get, things seem to happen up there a little bit quicker than the mid-lake, say like around Kimberling and the dam. And it's pretty much the same water temperature, but for some reason, like I say, the bite gets a little better up there. But I've been throwing 2 different A-rig setups. I've got one with 1/8 ounce heads and spinners for fishing a lot of the cedar trees and brush that's a little bit shallower, say, 10 to 20 foot range. But some of my A-rig fish have been as deep as 40, 45 feet. And for that, I'm using a lot of multiple different swim baits, mainly, shad colors, shad patterns. The other rig I'll throw, that particular rig there had 1/8 ounce heads. This one here has got 3/16 ounce heads and a little bit of weight up front so that I can get the bait down there a little quicker, deeper. And we don't have any blades on it. But then again, I'm mixing up the colors. I'm doing like a 3.3. I usually like a bigger swim bait on the ones with the hooks, especially the middle, the longer wire. I usually want my biggest swim bait on there. And you'll find that about 90% of your bites or your fish come on that center wire. I think it's the bait that's hanging down the most, the first one they come up to. But I think, we get several more days of sunshine. Now, yesterday when I was out, I did see several fish in the tops of the cedar trees on a jerkbait, but it was dead slick. I mean, not a breath of wind. I could see them on my Garmin live scope. And also I had a couple fish follow the bait back out of the trees that I could visually see. Now, normally that's either you got the wrong color bait or sometimes it just takes a little bit of wind where them fish don't get quite a good look at the bait, So, but I think as the water warms up, fish are going to come up higher in the trees. And the water temperature for the most part in the middle of the lake, Kimberling to Indian Point to Campbell Point seemed to be, about 45 to 47 degrees yesterday. And one of my best fish, there are some fish shallow, there's just not a lot up there, but one of my best fish came on a jig around a dock. So there's, multiple different things you can do. But if you just want to go out and fun fish, I would probably just key on the deep fish a lot of these long flat points, center of some of these creeks over some deep trees, just kind of traditional winter spots. The fish are still there and they're going to be there till that water starts warming up a little bit more, probably they'll be out there deep till the middle of March, till they actually start coming in and spawn. So I'm going to try to stay up and do my reports every Wednesday now. And also Extreme Outdoors has their annual tackle swap meet. I believe it's February the 24th, but if you'll just look them up on the internet, Extreme Outdoors, it's a pretty neat deal. There's always some real good deals to be had there. So till next week, good luck, good fishing.